Yasser Allah, Yahweh, Allah Yahweh, Achad, Shemai, Yasser Allah, Yahweh, Allah Yahweh, Achad, Shemai, Yasser Allah, Yahweh, Allah Yahweh, Achad, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Bahashum Chahakudash. I want to give double honors to our elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone Well who lead the flock. Alright. I also want to give peace and blessings, health and wellness to the house of David the elect. Alright. I was a hop, spirit wind lawyer. Alright. And of course my schedule is temporarily changed. Got a few days off. So I'm going to the park, which is why I haven't been doing any videos on my way to work. So like for that. Nonetheless, my schedule is different for right now. Alright, but this does allow me to hit this type of scenery. Right? Bam. Hit this early morning scenery, man. You know? I hope brothers and sisters are doing well. You know, I hope Yahweh Bahashim Hawashai has had mercy on us on this day of atonement. You know, I hope brothers and sisters were able to successfully go through the fast. All right. Certain things that the high holy days teach you is your health. You know, you learn certain things dealing with health when it comes to the high holy days. Let me explain. Throughout the years, during the Feast of Unleavened Bread, I noticed a change in my body, in my temple, when I did not eat yeast for a week. And I noticed how my mind was clearer. All right, I noticed that I was leaner. You know, like stress had alleviated from my brain, so to speak. And I noticed that my body was leaner. Okay, and you learn how your body reacts in Babylon when you take yeast out of your body temporarily. You know, and ultimately years later, I ended up not eating anything with bread in it for about 5-6 months. You know, now I just don't really eat bread like that anyway. This is not my thing anymore. You know, it's just too much. You know, rarely will I eat bread, but it was the Feast of Unleavened Bread that taught me that. You know, now, you know, you got the keto, you know, low carb, you know, but you know, the high holy days show you. Another example, and I know I haven't gone into the lesson yet, but another example is the Day of Atonement. You know, you see how your body reacts to an absolute fast or a dry fast. What's a dry fast? When you not only don't eat food, but you don't drink any water. You don't drink any liquid, including water. All right? But the next day, you might have the best bowel movement, you know? Or you might just feel good at the end of the fast, you know? But then you see, okay, how your body reacts to fasting. Not only on a spiritual level, for sure, definitely a spiritual level, but also a physical level, you know? Just from fasting, you know? So I was just thinking about that, how the high holy days in Babylon, keeping the high holy days in Babylon, it shows you some of the things you're supposed to do that'll help you out in Babylon, such as fasting, you know, going 24 hours without food, all right? For a lot of us, not eating bread, you know, although the scripture says, give us this day our daily bread, and although back in the old country, literal bread was a staple, lacham, it was an actual staple, but now the wheat is not GMO, it's messed up and it has adverse effects in our bodies. I mean, you do have things like Ezekiel bread too, you know, but I just noticed I know with my body, just bread doesn't go well. You know, my body functions better without bread, and I noticed that it's a big plus when I go on a fast. But for some of us, when we came into the knowledge and kept the Day of Atonement, was the only time that we really went on a fast. But that'll also allow you to see how your body reacts to a fast. Okay? Now you got something called what? OMAD, which is an acronym for 1 meal a day. But because this food that is defiled among the Gentiles, it's a slow processing food. It's a slow digesting food. So for a lot of us, it'll behoove us to eat 1 meal a day. But a lot of us, we didn't experience that until we went on the Day of Atonement. You know, you might go on an 18-hour fast. The Day of Atonement is a 24-hour fast, but OMAD is basically a 23-hour fast. But if you look up, say, Dr. Eric Berg on YouTube, he'll show you the benefits. He'll give you 23 benefits of going on a 23-hour fast. But something that's very similar is the Day of Atonement. You see? So I was just thinking, man, the high holy days, you know, they slick teach you how to maintenance your body, man. You know? But it's just very beneficial, like I said, to eat 1 meal a day, some of us 2 meals a day, you know. Also, a lot of us could let go of bread out of our diets. The Spirit has been working through the apostles to push that keto and carnivore, where not only you're not eating bread, you're eating low carbs or no carbs. You know, in my experience, once you become physically active, you know, little carbs do help. You know, if you were sedentary, maybe like, you know, a truck driver, you know, you could probably be more keto or closer to carnivore because you're sedentary, and those carbs wouldn't benefit you. Thus, they may become fat, you know. But if you're physically active, you burning calories, you know, there are better carbs, you know. But also electrolytes too gives you energy, you know. What are electrolytes? Particularly, it's potassium, magnesium, and calcium. So when you're drinking spring water, you know, I think this is an okay brand. I mean, it's a plastic bottle, but it's high in electrolytes. You know, that gives you energy, you know. This is Evian, by the way. The one of the top voted waters, however, is Mount Valley. I don't think the electrolyte level is highest, but it's like some of the purest water you could drink in America, you know. But fruit is high in electrolytes too, you know. But like the beloved elder Apostle Hart, he showed you how to make your own electrolyte tonic. You see, because that's a good energy source too. When it comes to energy, you don't have to eat a meal, an actual meal, to get energy, you know. In the beginning, before the flood, the main diet was fruitarian. It was fruits. And at that time, your energy came from fruit. That's why fruit are high in carbs, high in natural sugars, because it was designed to give you energy. But mind you, that was the main source of food before the flood. Okay? Nonetheless, as we segue into the lesson, and I hope that part was edifying as well too, you know. Babylon, America ruined us, man. I was just contemplating on some things while I was in my bed. I'm like, damn, the school system was garbage, man. All right, there was no microscopes in science class, no telescopes. All right, you're learning about nature from inside of a freaking classroom. All right, when the masculine spirit, the male brain, is designed for adventure. Its learning comes from adventure, being out in the elements, not in some prison that you would call a classroom. All right. The food was garbage. The music was garbage. Hey, shalom, shalom. Yahweh Bahashemel Shai. Bahashim Rakako Gospel. Food was garbage. You see? But if you look at the big picture, all right, the Babylon ruined us. What does it say in Micah 2:10? Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest. But it wasn't by coincidence. All right, the scripture says what? The wicked watcheth over the righteous and seeketh to slay him. All right? And you can look at Jake, and that's the outcome of the experiment. That's the outcome of the sword. When you see Jake, the YNs, the 304s, the obesity, all right, the incarceration, the high death rate, that's the result of the sword of Esau, which ultimately is a manifestation of the curses mentioned in Deuteronomy 28. But somebody spearheaded Deuteronomy 28. Somebody was the vessel to manifest Deuteronomy 28. And it was Esau Edom. You know? It was Esau Edom, man. Okay? You know, every other Jake in our family has been in the hospital for health-related issues, has been on dialysis, have diabetes, high blood pressure. Some just went back to the spirit world, especially after that jab hit in 2020, 2021. You know, that jab put a lot of people back in that spirit world. A lot of people went back to the spirit world after that jab. You know, people who had pre-existing diseases, pre-existing disorders, ailments. All right, when they took that jab, it took them out of there, man. I know a lot of people personally, a lot of middle-aged people. Okay? But long story short, once again, this kingdom, man, all right, it's not our rest. It's not for Jake to thrive. Jake is barely surviving, right? Jake is living in another man's kingdom, within another man's system, and it's like a trap for Jake, because this system biblically is referred to as a pit. All right, but a pit is really like a trap, because you can't get out of a pit, man. You got child support, you got car notes and insurance and student loans. That's a pit, man. Or just the banking system was systemically designed so Jake can't build anything, he can't establish anything. You'll get these real nice cars, but most likely you're paying some car note, man. You're just paying for your image. There's nothing wrong for a brother or sister to have a decent car, but it's just designed. We didn't have car notes in the ancient world, man. All right, and Proverbs NLT, it said the borrower is a slave to the lender. You're a slave to the lender. So most of the nation of Israel are debt slaves, man. Most Jakes don't own anything. All right, and the ones that do, they're exceptions. And that's pretty bad, considering that we were quote unquote free back in 1865. So now it's year 2025. So you got 1865 to 1965 is 100 years. All right. And from 1965 to say 1965 to year 2000 is 135 years, plus another 25 years is 160 years. I believe that's the right calculation. All right. So we've been free for about 160 years. And look at look how Jake progressed. They didn't progress, man. More Jakes are in the prison industrial complex, or part of the prison industrial complex, than there were Jakes in slavery, man. Okay? The average so-called black woman is having a baby outside of a nuclear family. You know? A lot of Jakes don't own anything. We don't have our own markets, our own businesses. You know, because ultimately this is a prison set up by Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai. You know, it's a prison. you know. But look at how Jake and his slop. Look how Jake and his character, has deteriorated, man. Jake went from a slave to a monster. Jake went from an enslaved person to a monster. You know, because there was heavy witchcraft laid on our people. What does it say in Genesis? It said 49. Judah is an old lion, who shall rouse him up? Because their witchcraft got enchanted on you, all right? Back in the 70s, when Jake got enchanted with their music, and also through Hollywood, and Esau created these new heroes who were no longer revolutionaries but drug dealers, okay? And as far as the women were perceived as powerful when it was more like a promiscuous woman ultimately, you know. You see, and look at what that did to our people. These different welfare programs. Look at the outcome of it now. See, now we can just see the outcome of all these different legislations that got passed, all these different programs that got passed. Now look at the outcome. Look at what it has engendered. All right. And if we're here any longer, more of us are gonna die. You know, thousands of Jake die all the time because we're here. We're here. You know, it's Babylon, man. Okay. So, hey, like I brought out yesterday through the Spirit, blessed is he that lives to see the downfall of his enemy, man. All right. You can watch the news, the real news, and see that your enemy is catching hell right now. You know? Hey, Shalom via Spirit 7. All right, this kingdom is crumbling. You see? But it's a good thing. Because before America burns fully, Yahweh Bahashmal Shai, all right, through his son, Yahweh Shai, is going to deliver the elect. And hopefully, we are a part of that number. Hopefully, we are the elect. And that's why we refer to ourselves as the hopefully elect. Okay? But that's pretty much the point, man. That we are the hopefully elect. But the point is, America ruined us, man. You know? Jake struggled with weight issues and health issues, and, you know, the science, the science within our culture, the art within our culture of starting a family, raising a family, right? Building up, you know, houses. You were part of a house. You could trace your lineage back to, you know, the progenitors of our race. You know, you really had a lineage. Lineage goes back to line, I believe, and your line can go back to your great ancestors, man, your great forefathers, man. All right, there was a woman who recorded a song. Don't quote me on a year. It was like 1920 something, right? And she recorded it in a Gullah language, right? And nobody knew what the language was, but a language expert, a linguist, a language, what's it called? A linguist. Long story short, she recorded the song, and she was from the South somewhere, right? But then her daughter, she sung the song to her daughter. Her daughter learned the song, right? And they was able to trace her people back to Sierra Leone in Africa from America based off the song that she knew. Because the song was sung in a language that's spoken in West Africa. So they was able to trace where her people came from based off the song that she knew. So, for example, if we knew Hebrew, if we spoke Hebrew, you could trace us back to Jerusalem. All right? You could trace us back to where we come from. You know? Yeah, it was the water, but I couldn't just hardly pronounce the word. I forgot, like, in context of the title that he was. Like, I know the study of language is linguistics, but that, like, in sense of his profession, you know, with the water. But long story short, she was able to trace her people back to Sierra Leone based off the language that she spoke. You know? But let me get this scripture. Via Spirit 7, Deuteronomy 30 and 7. And Yahweh thy power will put all these curses upon thy enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. He is about to be repaid for his works. For sure. You know, it's not going to be America gets destroyed and the earth is going to be desolate and there was the apocalypse and shit. Like, no, America's going to be destroyed. All right, and there's going to be a rise of power from the Israelites, the so-called Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans, man. And just their story alone, in which that woman who sung this song that she recorded in another language, this Gullah language, and that language is traced back to where her people came from in Sierra Leone, Africa. All right, and that also proves that she wasn't an indigenous American. All right, because what's the new lie, the new narrative they pushing there? Jake just been here. Now you did have dark-skinned Indians, and you did have the $5 Indian, but no, Jake wasn't just here. Like, this is the Southern Kingdom who was transported here, and a lot of us did mingle with Gad and Reuben. All right, this is from Romans 8 and 18, spiritual combat. Jeremiah 50 and 10, and Chaldea should be a spoil. All that spoil her should be satisfied, saith Yahweh. And where's Chaldea? Chaldea is here. It's America. It's Babylon. You know?
Morning.
All right, now. Good morning. That's how Esau talk. You know? But it's going to be Babylon, man. All right, Babylon is going to be that desert, you see. But once again, Esau is about to be repaid. And me and the elder brother Kazak did a video about Amalek is about to be revisited for his work. He's about to be visited. So this is the visitation of Amalek, man. What is going to result in thermonuclear fire and ultimately his enslavement, and beyond that, his destruction. Okay? Because an example is, once again, 1 Samuel 15th chapter. All right, the Most High speaks to King Saul, all right, through his prophet, and he basically said, look, I've settled accounts with Amalek. Now it's time for Amalek's visitation based on what he did 500 years, all right, prior to this event, prior to the present. So Amalek got judged in 1 Samuel 15 based off what he did in the book of Exodus, which was ambush the nation of Israel, which is 500 years prior to King Saul even coming into power, prior to even Israel having an established kingdom, you know? So what does it show you? The Most High required that which is past. You see? You see? So now we are experiencing Amalek's visitation. He's been visited. You see? 1 Samuel 2, thus saith Yahweh of hosts, I remember that which Amalek did to Israel, how he laid wait for him in the way when he came up from Egypt. Okay? Now, I Googled what was the time frame from the time we came up from Egypt to the time King Saul came into power, and Google roughly tells me, all right, that it was 500 years. Roughly 500 years between, you know, we got ambushed, we left Exodus, and you know, the rise of King Saul. So what does that tell me? What does that tell me about the nature of the Most High? Man, the Most High will hold you accountable years later. All right, decades later, centuries later. You'll get judged based off what you did centuries ago, millennia ago. And we always learned that from the apostles at Great Millstone. Okay, Numbers 24 and 20. And when he looked on Amalek, he took up his parable and said, Amalek was the first of the nations, but his latter end should be that he perish forever. You know, and Amalek was the elite of the nation of Edom. All right, he's the warlock behind the nation of Edom. He's the high priest behind the nation of Edom. He's the scientist, the wise men. He's the wise men. All right, the spirit has the nation of Edom. That has Jacob under all these enchantments. That has Jacob under the they clone Tyrone spell, man. Okay, your spirit 14 and 18. And Yahweh is long suffering and of great mercy, forgiving iniquity and transgression, and by no means clearing the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation. All right. And if a brother could get Daniel 4 and 17 GNT, all right, because you have to understand decisions get made in the spirit world, man. And Most High be getting kings out of there, man. You saw that in the book of Daniel, all right, with these Babylonian kings, all right. The Most High have them bugged the fuck out, all right. And when a king or a kingdom overtake another kingdom, there was a manifestation of a judgment that took place in the spirit world, man. Okay, that's the manifestation. Like one of my favorite movies to watch, believe it or not, is Alexander Revisited. All right, it's one of my favorite movies, man. I got to get my movie game back up, but one of my favorite movies, minus the Grecian scenes, is Alexander, and it showed that translation of power. When Alexander, shalom, sister, when Alexander overthrow the Persian army, which is a manifestation of what? Which is a visualization of what? First Maccabees, the first chapter. How Alexander took over the Persians and the Medes, man. Okay? You see? But that was a manifestation of a decision being made that it's time. Like, okay, the Persians' time is up. You see? The Persians, their time is up, man. All right? Darius, you know? But it was a very great movie. It was a movie directed by Oliver Stone, you know? But long story short, all right, things, when it comes to see the Most High is, the planet Earth is Yahweh Bahashim Shai's Game of Thrones, 8 the water, Romans 8 and 18, all right? Spiritual combat, this is Daniel 4 and 17. This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and give it to whomsoever he will, and set it up over it the beast of men, the basis of men's lot. Psalm 75 and 6, for promotion cometh neither from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south, but Yahweh is the judge. He putteth down one and set it up another. But Babakashah ate the water for that. But if a brother could get the same scripture, Daniel 4 and 17, in a GNT, because it's worded in a certain way that's befitting of this lesson. Okay? Right? Because in Psalm 75, it said Yahweh is the judge. What do judges do? They make decisions. Judges make decisions. All right? Accounts get settled in the spirit world, man. Scales get weighed out, man, in the spirit world. Okay? And the Most High has angels watching these kingdoms, man. Whether they can spot the UFOs or not. And if they can spot the so-called UFO, which is not UFOs, it's a so-called, all right? But it's a chariots, but the Most High got watchers. Because in the ancient world, real kings had watchers. Kings had spies planted in other kingdoms. The water, brother. Yep, the water. Romans 4:17 GNT. All right, this is the decision of the alert and watchful angels. Woo, shit, man. Don't you understand? These are decisions being made in the spirit world concerning the downfall and the uprising of a kingdom. All right? This is the decision of the alert and watchful angels. So then let all people everywhere know that the supreme power has power over human kingdoms. and that he can give them to anyone he chooses, even to those who are the least important. All right, which is Esau, Edom. Sirach 10:4. The power of the earth is in the hand of Yahweh, and in due time he will set over it one that is profitable. Who's going to be one that is profitable? Yahweh Shai, man. And his governing body. Who's the governing body? Take a wild guess. I'm going to let you intelligent brothers answer, man. Who's the governing body that's going to help Yahweh Shai rule the world, man? All right? That's going to have providences, all right, throughout existence. That's right. The elect. The Most High was molding a government. I'm sorry. Yahweh Shai was molding a government with his disciples 2,000 years ago. He was developing the minds of the elect 2,000 years ago. Why? Because they were the same men or the same spirits that was with Yahweh Shai in the beginning. They were the same spirits, us, Abba Will, and us, that was with Yahweh Shai in the beginning. But he had to go through his carnations, go through his processes, man. And the disciples came back, or the elect angels, they came back in the form of disciples, and they had to be molded into governors. That's why I said the saints should judge the world, should you in, not judge the smallest matters. Why did it say judge the world? Christians say that. What does it mean, judge? Did it not just say in Daniel 4:17 in the GNT that this decision, let me go back to it. Daniel 4:17, this is the decision of the alert and watchful angels. All right? But we're going to make decisions in this planet Earth, man. We're going to be judging the nations through Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai's laws, man. All right? Romans 8:22. For we know that the whole creation groaneth and traveleth in pain together until now. Verse 23. And not only they, but ourselves also, which have the first fruits of the Spirit. Yeah, that class, they're superior to the rest of the nation, man. The first fruit, that superior class, which is the elect. All right? Even we ourselves grown within ourselves, waiting for the adoption to wit, the redemption of our body, man. All right? Us getting those new bodies and inheriting the kingdom, man. All right? It's going to be hey, come on, man. And when you're in the spirit, you get excited about this thing because we're almost here. We're closer than we were, all right, back in the 90s when, you had the One West Israelites, all right. Most of them came and went. We're closer than we were in the year 2000, all right, 2001. Towers got knocked down. That was 24 years ago. All right, we're closer than ever now, man. To the point where the average person knows we're Israelites, man. All right. The average person knows that everything that we were taught by Idumea was a lie. Romans 11:7. What then? Israel have not obtained that which is seeking for, that which he seeketh for. But the elect have obtained it, and the rest were blinded. All right, Matthew 19:28. And Yahweh said unto them, Verily, I say unto you, that ye which shall follow me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit on the throne of his glory, you also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. All right, Romans 13, that's the water, your pot scripture. Romans 13:11. And that knowing the time, that now it is high time to wake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. Okay? This is the translation of kingdoms. That's a lesson in itself. Is a translation of kingdoms, man. All right, we're in the translation of kingdoms. It just so happens that we're in a time of knowledge increasing at the same time this man kingdom is coming to a demise. It just so happens it's happening simultaneously. That's not a coincidence. That at the time this man's ship is sinking, economically speaking, we're coming into a state of knowledge, knowing who we are. The valley of dry bones, getting those side news together, man. Getting those side news put on them, getting the breath of life breathed into us. which is the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of this word. Hey, what did it say in Genesis, based in the garden? The Most High breathed the breath of life into Adam. And that happened again in this valley full of dry bones, which is called America. Okay? Luke 21:28. And when these things began to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. 2nd Ezra 6:8. And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the hill of Esau. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Because what is the world? It's a cosmos. But in this sense, it's an age. See, this is the ending, it's the ending of an age. But it's also the ending of his government, his world. All right? It's not the end of the world, it's the end of his world. And Jacob is the beginning of a new age of righteousness, man. We're in the middle of a shift. That's why we're in a so-called age of consciousness. Everybody's becoming conscious and, high vibrational and eating healthier and all these things. And it's there's a good number of our people unplugging from the world, whether it's directly coming into the knowledge or just unplugging from certain aspects of Babylon. The circus isn't fun anymore, For Esau is the end of the world, 2nd Ezra 6:9. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. 2nd Ezra 8:1. And he answered me, saying, the Most High have made this world for many, but the world to come for few. You see? But, that's pretty much the point, man. I hope this lesson was of edification. Once again, I would like to give our honor and glory to Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Hakodash. I also want to give double honors to our elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and blessings, health and wellness to the house of David the elect. Abba Babal, Kwame Ashala, Shalom. The water for tune again knocking.